Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And today we have a very special guest, Francesca Xuereb, who is the star of Room 203, which released on April 15th and is now available for streaming on Hulu and all major video on demand platforms. Francesca, thank you so much for being our guest today. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to this. The way I stumbled across Room 203 on Hulu is I was just browsing and I came across it. It sounded interesting. I watched it and I was just blown away on how good this movie was. So we're going to sort of go into your character and the movie itself. But what I want to ask you first is landing the lead role early in your career on a film that was picked up by Hulu, which is a major player in the streaming world. Actors work for decades, and an opportunity like that doesn't come that easy. Now, with that kind of break, what kind of confidence boost does it give you moving forward in your career?
Um, I guess like some sort of, yeah, definitely some confidence boost, like of, I guess, legitimacy or something straight on forward. But yeah, definitely something. But I'm always just looking to learn and like not trying to focus on that.
Yeah, all the noise that comes with it. I
Yeah,
totally
exactly,
understand.
exactly.
Now, Room 203, the premise is two best friends who decide to move in together. You play the character of Kim. You go against the wishes of your parents, overbearing
Mhm.
parents. When you were building the story for Kim to help you play Kim on the screen, why were your parents A, so against you moving out of the house, and B, they really disliked your roommate and best friend, Izzy?
Yeah, I think that the way that I kind of fleshed that relationship out in my head is that like I just assumed that they were a pretty religious family that I was
Mm-hmm.
starting from. There's had to be some level of like overall just like the way the script had it is that they were distrusting of Izzy and her mom because her mom had an overdose
Yeah,
and that would like transfer over into how she treated us or like how that would influence us to do the same thing, which I think is
exactly.
crazy, obviously, of the parents. But yeah, so I found it and I went towards like they probably like we grew up religious and that this is that the people that you surround yourself around what is like a big thing to them, like sort of like the social element of what other people see them as.
Yeah.
And so they
They're,
had all these ideas, but I think that's just what made it like more clear to Kim that she needed to leave, you
exactly.
know?
They are more interested in how the outside world views them as opposed to doing what's best for their own family and daughter in this case. Kim harbors a tremendous amount of guilt for not being there for Izzy when her mom overdosed and passed away. Uh, when you were fleshing this out, was it Kim's overbearing parents or the amount of guilt that Kim felt for not being there for Izzy that led her to moving in with her?
Um, sorry.
No, that's fine. My dog's asleep in the hallway.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was either, honestly. I think that this is something that she also just wanted separately, or that's even a word, separate from her relationship with Izzy and her guilt and her relationship with her parents. I think that's just something that she wanted to do, like just for herself, is go to school and
Start her life, basically.
yeah, and start her life basically like independently of everyone to a certain degree, like just be able to hold her own and do what she thought was right and do it successfully, hopefully, So I think
Exactly.
this is all just, I think for the most part, that was like the biggest part of it is that it came from herself instead of necessarily out of guilt. I think that that's maybe part of it, but I also just think that she loves Izzy and it's her best friend, and I
Hmm.
think that's why she wanted to move into with her more so than to remedy the guilt. I think that maybe that was partly underneath it, is just wanting to be there for her more often.
Yeah,
I think that it's not that she didn't want to be there for her in the beginning, right? She
yeah.
always wanted to be with her best friend and support her in many different ways. And so I think that it kind of went hand in hand with.
Exactly. Now, Kim is a journalism student. You can tell that your character is ambitious. This is what you really want to do, and that could be a factor as to moving out on your own and starting your life. Kim betrays Izzy in a way by writing an assignment article for school about Izzy's mother, OD. Now, when Izzy finds out about the article, she's obviously upset. Kim tries to justify it by saying I kept everything anonymous, but that doesn't really work, with Izzy. What is it that Kim feels so compelled to keep going back to Izzy's mom, OD, her dying? Uh, and there's a scene in the movie when you're talking with Ian that it sounds like Kim and Izzy's mom sort of had a close relationship on their own as well. So,
Right.
is it that relationship? Did you feel a profound loss when her mom OD'd as well? And that was your way of sort of dealing with your emotions when it comes to that loss?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it, is that she had, I mean, of course, you can't demean like the relationship between Izzy and her own mom, but I think that because Kim's parents have always been so strict, she's never had like a very close relationship with them, or been
Mm-hmm.
able to actually like talk about things or have like a friendly relationship with her parents. It's always been very like, you're my like parents and then me, and it's kind of like this like separation of like
A parent's
permission.
hardest job is to let go of their children. I'm a parent, and I know that
Yeah.
your children do grow up, and eventually you have to let go and let them live their own lives. And it just seems like Kim's parents are not there. It's sort of like the only reason you should ever leave this house is when you find a husband and leave. That's the way it
Exactly.
came
So
across.
she couldn't be fully herself around them. And I think that she could around Liana and Izzy's mom, and like totally, talk about her hopes and dreams, talk about things like without uh the expectation of it being so serious or being taken in a way that is not the intention, or like them defaulting to like her future within whatever, even if it's like a crush on a boy or something like that. And that's just kind of how I thought about it, is that she's just, her parents are so reserved, and she hasn't didn't have that within them. So this relationship with Liana was really important to her,
Hmm.
as well as like Izzy's important to her. And I think that, I don't know if maybe even Kim is able, like, because within regards of like her writing the story about Izzy's loss,
Hmm.
and in not even really talking about it as her own loss within the article.
Yeah.
I think that it's a lot of that is just that she maybe doesn't even want to talk about any of her own stuff that maybe is like has festered, that is either stemming from like,
And it's just too painful.
yeah, it's too painful. And so this is something that she feels like that she can manage, and maybe if she can get it all out,
Hmm.
that she'll be able to actually remedy the situation with them.
The film is an adaptation from a novel by Nanami Kaman. When you got the part, did you reference the source material? I've spoken with a lot of actors who've done roles in regards to source material. Some don't want the source material to bias them against the screenplay that's before them, or which side do you fall on? Do you like to reference the source material to sort of see how it varies from the screenplay?
To be completely honest, I think I would have loved to, but we had like from being cast to like starting production, it was like not even a week. So it's
Wow.
like fly out there. Like, so we didn't really have a lot of time so I really did just use the script and what was in front of me and tried to pull as much from that as I could.
Hmm.
Um, instead of going to the source material, I didn't, but
The
I
time
feel
was not
like
there.
try that. Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Time
it,
element
in the
helped.
in a previous interview, you stated that you were compelled to this part by the previous works of the director Ben Jagger. What was it about Ben's style that really wanted you to work with him?
I talked to him on the phone beforehand and I just really like, I just saw like a lot of passion that he had for the project. He had like, it felt like he really wanted to make something great and that he
Hmm.
really I don't know, you want to work with people that believe in themselves and believe in the people that are surrounding them.
Yeah,
And so I really felt that from him within the conversation. And it felt like he believed like with we had such a small budget, and you know what I mean, it was done so fast. I think they wrote the script in 2 weeks beforehand too,
wow.
like adapted it. And so it was just it it just to see that like camaraderie and excitement and belief within against like the odds, I kind of was like, oh great, this is like the kind of energy that I want to be around.
Definitely.
And within his work, it was just it all looked like super professional, and with the little means that he had to make it, he always like it seemed pulled it together and made it into something greater. And so I really wanted to work with someone like that.
One of the greatest tales of a great filmmaker is, regardless of the budget, is to take the best that you can from the money that you have and make a great movie. And that's exactly what Ben did. Did you and Ben have in the limited time that you had before shooting, have conversations on how he envisioned Kim in sort of directing you on how to play her?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, we had some conversations beforehand about like how what he saw, like what she kind of wanted more than like character traits or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's interesting because I actually auditioned for the role of Izzy originally,
Oh.
and when we did the callbacks, it was all Kim, and it was so great because as soon as I read with Victoria, it was like magic. I don't know why. I felt it. Like I was just like, wow, she's so great. I want to work with her too. You know what I mean? We just had like a like it felt natural. Like it made everything kind of click. And so it was, and then meeting her, we kind of had all a conversation together with Ben and with our characters, and kind of he also just talked to us about ourselves, and we
Hmm.
kind of just like to get to know each other better, and then also to get to know like our the differences between the two of us.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I definitely found that like Victoria is very like much more of an Izzy than I was, and I was like as our conversation would continue with Ben, it was very clear that like I was like, wow, like she just told this story about how she moved to LA, and it was just like in the middle of the night she was mad at her friends at a bar, and she just moved here and then stayed, and like she didn't bring anything, and I was just like, oh my god, I could never do anything like that. And so like it was easy to find our relationship and our characters through just like talking about our own lives and like things
And
like that with Ben.
and that chemistry between two, acting partners in a movie is so crucial. It's not something. No matter how good of an actor you are, if the chemistry is not there, it does come across on the screen. And you guys had great chemistry that you brought all the way to the film, being best friends. The audience, me included, just felt it. You guys were best friends, and I would call you sisters. That's how close you were. Now,
Yeah.
Izzy, being more emotionally vulnerable, succumbs to the paranormal activity happening in that apartment. When it
Yeah.
comes to Kim's and Izzy's relationship, how does Kim view her role in that relationship? with Izzy? Does she feel in some way that she sort of needs to take care of her in this emotional, vulnerable state that she's in?
Yeah, 100%. I think even their relationship before that and continuing through, it's like Izzy's so wild and out there, and she brings Kim out of her shell in a way that I think she needs. But at the same time, I think even before all like the emotional trauma that she's gone through with losing her own mom, it's like I think that Kim has always been one to kind of like not hold her back totally, but like bring her in a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
is worried about how the situation will go, is like kind of thinking ahead and like trying to be as prepared as possible, like for fallouts and things like that when Izzy within interactions with other people and everything. And I think that that probably comes from her parents as well, right? That
Yeah.
her parents are like are kind of not like a like to level like a doomsday prepper, but they're reserved, and
Yeah.
they're scared of things outside. And so I think that that is definitely instilled in her to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And so she feels like this need to protect her, because that's how what she's received love from her parents, is by them overprotecting her. So she wants to protect Izzy in that same way.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
as an actor, every actor has their own methods of getting into the mindset of that particular character that they have to play. When it came to Kim, uh, who has a lot of stuff going on, she has this friction between her parents. She has to deal with Izzy and her vulnerable state. What's your process to getting into character for Kim?
I do a lot of text work, and I just kind of like I really like to work I don't know, it's like a pretender. Like I like to pretend instead of
Well, that's what
necessarily
acting is.
my yeah, instead of pulling my own things. So I like to like write in character, kind of free write things, and like through the moments and like beats in the scenes and things like that, like figuring it out as I go, as like what she would do, or basically like how I would react, I suppose, if I was her. And that's what acting is, yeah. But yeah, so I don't think that it was like
You didn't overthink it too much,
no, I
which
just
is a
kind of
good
tried
thing.
to yeah, to like to put myself in the situation and be really like aware of the circumstances that
Hmm.
she's in every
Yeah,
moment, but like I didn't want to over analyze
yeah,
it
yeah.
too harshly.
Would you say that Kim White has been the most complex character that you've had to play so far in your career?
Mm, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. I do a lot of comedy, honestly,
Hmm.
usually since then. Which I love. I really love comedy. And so so because of that, I think that yeah, there's definitely a lot more going on. It like or at least writers I see this field tend to put a lot more backstory and things like that for a traumatic character, because there's like more things to pull from
Yeah.
in that emotional way. But yeah, I mean, I think all the characters I play are complex in their own way and have like different stories, and there's so much to flesh out. And like with everything, it's
Oh,
like there's
yeah.
so much to find. So
Did you gain
there
a new appreciation for the horror genre after doing Room 203?
Oh, sure. I mean, I love horror too. Like it's one of my favorite genres, like Scream and like all those movies I'm just like obsessed with. So it's always been I'm always been a big fan of horror. So it was cool. It was like the second thing that I've done that I did in my career was Room 203. And and the first thing was another horror movie that's not out yet.
Actually,
And so yeah, I love horror.
I want to ask you about that. We're going to get to that in just a second. But being the lead in a feature film, this is sort of like probably I've looked through your resume and it looks like this is your biggest starring role to date so far. I may be wrong on that, but have you gained a new appreciation of what, leading actors in any film have to go through, the amount of camera time they get, the pressures that are put on them? What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned from shooting Room 203?
Um Yeah, I mean, I definitely gained an appreciation for the amount of work that it takes to be, or the just the hours and everything involved with like being there. I loved it because I loved being around the crew that often as well, because I think a lot of times with actors they when you're not actively like in a scene or something like that, you're like in holding or something like that, so you're not with
Yeah, a lot of
everyone
time is
who's making
just
the
waiting
movies.
around. Yeah,
Right, exactly. So being the lead in the first on the call sheet and everything like that, it was really cool just to be around the crew and everyone all the time, and just to form like such close relationships with every department,
that's awesome.
which is just I loved, like I love, because is such incredible artists, and they're all so passionate about what they do. And so
Hmm.
it's so invigorating to be around that with everyone and to see it day in and
Yeah,
day out. And it really is it's like a powerful feeling that I think flows through making
it's
something.
contagious.
Yeah.
We're out of time. I want to ask you one last question. You mentioned a film coming out. You're in an upcoming film that is done with filming called Murmur. Is that
Mhm.
the film that you were referring to a second ago?
Yes, yes, yes.
You play a character by the name of Roxy. What can you tell us about Murmur and your character Roxy, if anything?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I should say, but it's Murmur is it takes place in the woods, this horror movie, and it is kind of it's based in like a it's a virtual reality game
Hmm.
that we all start playing that kind of becomes a little too real.
Wow.
Kind of, I think the basis of the
Okay,
premise, what I can say about it.
that's
And
awesome.
Roxy is definitely more of a like wild child,
So the
very different
complete
than
opposite of Kim.
complete opposite of Kim. But most of what we get from her in the film uh is not like who she is outside of this world. It's kind
Yeah.
of how she is, like how those kind of things are broken down, because it's a bunch of influencers that are playing this new game, and it's yeah.
It
So
sounds very interesting. I want to thank you so much, Francesca, for coming on here and sharing your thoughts and experiences shooting Room 203. I'm excited to watch Murmur when it does get released. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me. It was really nice
Absolutely. And
talking to
guys,
you.
check out Room 203. It's available for free if you're subscribed to Hulu. It's right there. Watch it. If not, it's available on any your favorite video on demand retailer. I This is a great movie. You won't be disappointed. Again, thank you to Francesca. I want to thank our live audience and all of you guys who are tuning in later on. I see the birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday. Uh, I'm turning 48 years old.
Happy
God, I'm
birthday.
approaching the big 50. Anyway, thank you to everybody. Thank you to Francesca. On behalf of Francesca and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Bye, everybody.